They thought I was just another suburban dad they could push around. You know, the type polo shirt, watering the roses, maybe a little too eager at the HOA meetings. But yesterday, 3 HOA enforcers showed up at my door, and by the time I got home, my wife was bleeding on the front steps. You ever see a bully pick the wrong target? Yeah, that happened. Their leader, Tony, laughed in my face. What are you going to do about it, teacher? Give us detention, if only he knew. Let me back up a sec. My name's Jack Morrison, and until yesterday, I really thought I'd buried my past for good. 7 years playing the perfect neighbor in Sunset Hills, California, a tidy house, a wife named Lily, who teaches third-grade neighbors who think my biggest vice is overwatering the azaleas. That Tuesday started like any other. I was grading spelling tests, swapping dad jokes with kids in the hallway, waving to little Emma Smith as she skipped past with her backpack. I thought my biggest worry was whether the lawn was too green. Then at 2:15, my phone rang. Lily's voice shaky, wrong somehow. Can you come home? Something happened with the HOA people. I think I need urgent care. My blood turned to ice. She told me they'd accused us of some fence violation, and when she tried to explain, one of them shoved her down the front steps, left her bleeding. I still remember the silence on the phone after she whispered it like she was trying to hold herself together just long enough for me to get home. When I rushed through the front door, Lily was sitting on the couch, frozen peas pressed to her temple blouse, torn dark bruises forming. 3 men, she said quietly. Tablets, badges. They said the fence was wrong. When I told them to wait for you, the big one said, wives don't get to make decisions about property violations. Her eyes, usually full of fire, were just scared. She told me how the leader, Tony, got in her face, grabbed her, shoved her down the steps, and then stood over her, telling her she'd better show proper respect for community authority. Then they took pictures of the fence of her bleeding, all for documentation. I swear the air in the room got colder with every word. That's when I heard the car door slam in the driveway. Lily's face went pale. They said they'd be back, she whispered. I told her, go upstairs, lock the bedroom door. She listened. There was something in my voice that told her not to argue. Then I stepped outside, and let me tell you, I hadn't felt that switch flip inside me for a long time. The leader, Tony, walked up, thick-set, shaved head, smug as hell. His goons, Chad and Mike, followed close like they enjoyed what they did for a living. Tony handed me a violation notice, all official. Your fence is 6 inches over regulation. Your wife was real helpful with our inspection yesterday, sweet lady, very educational for her. The other 2 smirked. She learned some important lessons about cooperation. My jaw tightened. They threatened to come back Friday, told me to keep my wife in line. As their SUV drove away, I stood in the driveway looking like just another frustrated homeowner, but inside the old part of me, the one I'd buried for 7 years, was waking up. See, before I was Mr. Morrison elementary school teacher, I spent 14 years in another kind of classroom, one where I learned how to solve problems permanently. I swore I'd left that behind. But these men, they thought they'd found a weak target. They had no idea who I used to be. That night I held Lily while she slept, every bruise on her body a crack in the wall I'd built around my old life. By morning, I'd made up my mind I was going to handle this like a teacher, or at least that's what Tony and his crew would think. I called the HOA office, putting on my best confused suburban dad voice. The receptionist laughed when I said my name. Tony had warned them about me. Within an hour, Tony called. Need help with that fence, teacher? He offered to send a contractor for the right price. It was all a setup, and I knew it. That morning, I started digging into HOA records. Turns out their enforcement budget had tripled. Their lawyer got 40% of all fines, and complaints about aggressive enforcement went nowhere. Mrs. Clark from down the street came by for tea. She'd been fined $700 last month. Old ladies who argue too much sometimes have accidents, Tony told her. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just an overzealous HOA. This was organized extortion. They picked on the elderly single moms, men like me, who they figured would back down. That afternoon, we got an email from the HOA legal manager thanking us for our cooperation. For about a day, Lily actually smiled again. Then a certified letter arrived, $1,000 in new fines, and a handwritten note from Tony. Your wife's cooperation was noted. Friday's inspection will determine if further educational measures are necessary. That evening, I checked the security cameras. Sure enough, a black sedan was surveilling our house. Friday came. 4 men showed up this time. Tony brought a heavy Derek Hayes, former bouncer, with a string of assault charges. Heard we're dealing with some computer nerd who thinks he's a lawyer, Derek sneered. His crew joked about my wife learning manners. I stayed calm, but when Derek shoved me, "What you gonna do, teacher boy?" "Give me detention." I moved. Years of training took over. I locked his wrist, dropped him to his knees, then let him go. The look on their faces. Real fear for the first time. Tony, Chad, and Mike backed away, confused and shaken. Derek cradled his wrist. "You're not just some dad, are you?" I just looked him in the eye. "I'm exactly what I appear to be, a husband who protects his family." They left fast, but I could see Derek on his phone calling someone higher up the chain. That night, the real boss called Richard Blackwood, HOA president, and a lawyer with friends in high places. He threatened to expose my past, hinted at records that were supposed to be sealed. Navy SEAL Special Operations, highly decorated. People are funny about veterans like you, Mr. Morrison. Once the seed is planted, your teaching career won't survive scrutiny. Blackmail straight up. I told Lily everything that night. She listened, squeezed my hand. You were protecting people. That's what matters. If they want to fight, we fight back. So I changed tactics. Instead of going solo, I built a coalition. Mrs. Clark, the Smiths, the Johnsons families, who'd all been targeted. Even Paul Williams, a young HOA enforcer, showed up at our meeting. He had recordings, internal meetings where Blackwood set quotas for fines, told them to target the elderly and single moms, even text messages outlining harassment protocols. But the real shocker, emails revealing Blackwood's plan to force everyone to sell, then flip the neighborhood to a developer. It wasn't just greed, it was a criminal conspiracy. We planned to present everything at the next HOA meeting. But Blackwood struck first. Next morning, 2 sheriff's deputies arrested me for assaulting Derek Hayes, who showed up with fresh bandages, milking it for all it was worth. At the station, Detective Cruz saw through the setup. Security footage showed Derek shoved me first, and my response lasted 3 seconds tops. She dropped the charges, and I raced to the HOA meeting just as Blackwood was warning everyone about dangerous veterans in the community. That's when my coalition walked in, neighbors carrying folders, Paul with his laptop. Mrs. Clark stood up, her voice strong. "Are you aware your enforcers threatened to hurt me? Fined me for tulip colors you approved." Paul played audio of Blackwood giving orders to fabricate violations. He projected emails showing the plan to force sales for profit. The room exploded. For the first time, parents, retirees, young couples, everyone saw how deep the rot went. Blackwood tried to paint me as the villain. Jack Morrison is a former Navy SEAL intimidating community officials, but Mrs. Clark just shook her head. Good. It's about time someone with real training stood up to bullies like you. Lily stood and spoke her truth, how I'd always protected innocent people from predators, and that's exactly what I was doing now. Detective Cruz entered with 2 officers and an FBI agent. Yeah, the feds got involved. Richard Blackwood, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, extortion, and civil rights violations. The handcuffs on his wrists. I can't describe the relief. Tony, Derek, and Mike were cuffed too. Neighbors hugged each other, some crying, others just laughing from pure release. 6 months later, Sunset Hills looks nothing like it used to. The money Blackwood stole is paying for new playgrounds. Emma Smith designed the layout. Mrs. Clark is running the gardening club. Paul's now a community liaison. Even Derek Hayes came to a barbecue, handed me a letter enrolling in criminal justice classes, trying to make amends. I told him, actions matter more than words. Show the community who you want to be. And that's the lesson I learned the hard way sometimes. The most important battles aren't fought in foreign countries, but right here at home, where standing up to bullies, no matter how powerful, can build something better. The skills I once used to wage war now help build trust, protect families, and lead with love instead of fear. So what do you think? Where's the line between standing up for what's right and taking justice into your own hands? Have you ever seen power abused in your own community? Drop a comment. Share your story. Because sometimes the fight for justice starts with just one person saying enough. And sometimes that's all it takes to change everything.